Yes, yes, fellas, we're going back to back for the content. Errol Spence, the truth against Keith, one time Thurman, 154, looking like April time. I gotta be honest with you, I love this fight. I love this fight. I'm not mad about this fight at all. Um, I think the only thing that is a shame is both guys have been so inactive, right? So Keith Thurman, he's only fought one time, no pun intended, in the last 4 years since he fought Manny Pacquiao in July 2019. Crazy thing about that, I actually watched that fight in a cinema. You know what I mean? And for the Americans, movie theater. I mean, apparently the Americans don't even know what cinema is. But yeah, so I saw that in a movie theater in Orlando, and it was a wild experience. If anyone's never watched a boxing, yeah, in a movie theater, it's nuts. It was great. Um, Now, obviously, Keith, he dropped the only loss of his career that night against a jacked Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao was on them roids that night, man. You know them ones where like Pacquiao's there's no VADA testing, and you just see him on the scales, and he just looks like some fucking Muhammad I'm hard Bruce Lee. I mean, just shredded, man. Like, but anyway, I'm going off the point. Uh, the point is, Pacquiao was on them roids, and Thurman still took him to a split decision. And I think that could have gone either way. Obviously, Keith got dropped in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. And so, when you're a knockdown you know what I mean, to the bad against a crowd favorite like Manny Pacquiao, it's always difficult to get a decision. But I thought Keith did really well in that fight. It's the only fight he's ever lost. But the problem is we've only seen him once since then against Mario Barrios. So I think that was on at like February last year. So we are very inactive. But the same can be said about the truth, right? So we haven't seen Errol very frequently. I think in the last, if we go back 3.5 years ago to when he fought Sean Porter in the Staples Center, I was at that fight. Unbelievable fight, unbelievable atmosphere. Obviously, after that, Errol, he was supposed to fight Danny Garcia, ended up in a car accident, probably been drinking too much of that. I don't know what they were, lean. I mean, drinking too much of that dirty South lean. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, he was gone off that lean and ended up crashing his Ferrari. Luckily, the top was down. He went straight through, and then we didn't see Errol again for a long time after that. Still came back against Danny Garcia. No warm-up fight. He fucking fist Danny Garcia up. It was ugly watching that fight because you was expecting Errol to like not be 100%. You know what I'm saying? And Danny Garcia still ended up getting fists up. But and then straight in against Ugas for the another unification. So as much as Errol has been doing the business, and you can't fault his record, you know what I'm saying? Like he took the IBF, can't get my words out. He took the IBF against Kell Brook in Sheffield. Yeah. 4 guys undefeated at the weight class, took his belt from him in his backyard. Then he fought against Sean Porter, took Sean Porter's WBC title. Controversial decision, but at the end of the day, you got the W, right? And then he took Ugas's IBF title, which he just won against Manny Pacquiao in a fight that obviously Errol Spence was supposed to be in with Pacquiao, and then Spence had to pull out with a retinal tear. But again, no warm-up, straight back in there. So listen, the summary is we haven't seen a lot of Spence 2 fights in 4 years. We haven't seen a lot of Thurman 1 fight in 4 years. But both of these guys, it's a great styles matchup. It's going to be at 154, so no title on the line. I love that, by the way. I feel like that's a throwback thing. We don't see enough of that anymore. Back in the day, this was a lot more frequent. That listen, if there wasn't a good fight to be made for a champion, then he could just fight a non-title fight in the weight class above, or even, do you know what I mean, in a catch weight. And I think it makes sense for both guys. Keith Thurman, he's been a career welterweight. Errol Spence has been a career welterweight. Both of these guys, if I'm not mistaken, actually fought in higher weights in the amateurs. So I don't think Thurman made the Olympics, but he tried out at 152, which is the amateur weight class. And I think Errol competed at something around that when he fought in the London 2012 Olympics and picked up a bronze medal. So good fight. I think for people that have been following the sport a while, you guys might remember that back when Keith Thurman was that guy, back when Keith Thurman was undefeated, unified champion, do you know what I'm saying? Or even when he just first picked up his belt, Errol Spence was calling out Keith Thurman from when he was like 14-0, 15-0, and a novice really, and hadn't really fought at world level at all. And back in those days, Keith Thurman was saying, why should I give you a shot? Like, why the fuck do I need you, right? Why the fuck do I need some guy coming up? So go and win the world title and then come and see me. Obviously, Errol then went to Sheffield, picked up the IBF, by which point Keith was unified. Do you know what I mean? So I believe in 2017, Keith unified against Danny Garcia in March. And then it was in June, only 3 months later, that Errol Spence became champion. So he was saying, okay, well, now let's fight, But at that point, Keith Thurman, he started having all kinds of injuries. You know what I'm saying? Now, there are question marks around that period that he had off, but I think it was legit. Keith has definitely suffered with injuries to the shoulder and also to the elbow. He's had a lot of surgeries that have been confirmed about that. So I feel like, listen, there's been a lot of back and forth over the last few years between these two guys. They're the only top welterweights that haven't really fought each other. Everyone's fought each other, right? Porter, Thurman, Garcia, Brook, like everyone's been in there with everyone, obviously, with the exception being Terence Crawford, who's been on the other side of the street promotionally. But this is the only fight out of these top welterweights of this era that we haven't seen. And so I'm really pleased to see it. I think stylistically it's a good matchup. Keith can whack. I don't care what nobody says. Keith can still whack, right? That's always the last thing to go. And I feel like both guys are going to be more durable at the higher weight class, right? There ain't nothing fun about making the weight, especially when you start getting into your mid-30s. So it's going to be, two heavy hitters that are going to be durable. You'd certainly expect Errol Spence to be the busier fighter, the higher volume fighter. We did see him look a little bit shaky against Ugas. You know what I'm saying? There was a couple of, you got to credit to him coming back from an injury and fighting a champion like that. But hey, Ugas had him in trouble a couple of occasions. And, even though Thurman's only ever been dropped once against Pacquiao, we've seen him in some hairy moments against Josecito Lopez in the comeback fight. He took a couple of big shots against Danny Garcia. So I would expect Errol Spence to get the job done and get it done in good fashion just because Keith has been so inactive. I don't expect Keith to fight again. If I'm completely honest with you, I think this is going to be it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you and good night type of situation for Keith. Final payday, deserves it. Been a real warrior. I feel like people are a bit down on Keith Thurman, man. Let's give one time his credit. Like, This is a guy that fought in, the first undefeated unification fight at welterweight when he fought Danny at the Barclays Center since De La Hoya Trinidad. Since De La Hoya Trinidad, the fight of the century, which was in 1999. It was 18 years until two undefeated fighters fought an undisputed fight at welterweight, right? I go off the dome, by the way. Man doesn't have no notes, right? Do you know what I mean? This is how we do this thing. So, I say give Keith his credit. He's only ever lost a split to Drew Stop Manny Pacquiao. Do you know what I mean? Just absolutely. Pacquiao was taking needles everywhere, bro. Like in his arm, in his bum hole, like you name it, bro. And so that's the only fight that Keith has ever lost. I wouldn't rule him out. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility that he could end up just chinning Errol. But all things considered, I'd expect Spence to get it done with a body shot in about 9 or 10 rounds, or else it goes to points. Let me know what you guys think, if you're excited about the fight, if you think it's a load of bollocks. But yeah, I think definitely I'll probably stay up for this one. You know what I mean? Just because this is one that I've wanted to see for a few years. If not, definitely get a good night's sleep and watch it and review for you guys the next day. So peace.